In today's show, Shaedon Sharpe is out, but Matisse Thybulle and Kris Murray are set to make their long-awaited returns. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's program, we got injury updates. That's right. Some good news from Matisse Thybulle and Kris Murray as the Blazers get a little more hole in their wing core. But Shaedon Sharpe is going to be out for what sounds like an extended period of time as he continues to deal with a calf strain. We'll talk about everything you need to know health-wise, kind of the back half, the fallout of what that means, both positive and negative, the sort of impacts of all of those injuries. Plus, Joe Cronin spoke to the media. Not like a lot of media, but specifically the Willamette Week in his first on-the-record comments since the season began. I'll talk a little bit about what was written in that story from everyone's one of the top two all-weeklies in the city. Let's get into it. let's start with the good news. I mean, here's like the nuts and bolts of Shaedon Sharpe. We'll get into it in a second. Left calf strain that's caused him to miss 4.5 games heading into the All-Star break. He is out, has not practiced this week, and sounds like he is going to miss a chunk of time. But let's start with the good news, and we'll get back to Shaedon Sharpe. Matisse Thybulle, Kris Murray, both participants in the Blazers practices. They held one Wednesday. They held one Thursday. They play the Denver Nuggets to open their the stretch run of their season, their post-All-Star break schedule on Friday at the Moda Center. The Nuggets just lost at the buzzer to the Clippers and are gonna be on the second night of a back-to-back. Maybe mad that they lost a game that they could have won. Maybe just tired. Maybe both. We shall see. But Thybulle and Kris Murray are both officially listed as questionable, leaving the only other two names on the injury report: Damian Lillard out all year, and Shaedon Sharpe, the aforementioned. This is a big one to get Matisse Thybulle back because it has been a long time coming. He tore a ligament in his thumb in the fourth game of the season, October 29th, UCL sprain in his thumb, or injury in his thumb. Turns out it's a torn ligament. Then at the time, he's supposed to miss 4 to 6 weeks. And then after he'd missed about 8 weeks, the Blazers made an announcement like, as he's been ramping up from the thumb thing, he actually has been dealing with this knee injury, and that's going to keep him out indefinitely, basically. Like updates will be provided, and we just haven't heard any. At home games, Thybulle doesn't sit on the bench, but he sits like in the he sits like in the hallway or whatever, the tunnel heading back to the locker room. So he's there, he's around the team. I rarely see him in the back. I've maybe seen him walking around, but he's certainly not in the locker room, and he hasn't been traveling on the road. But he's been around. He's just sort of like this mysterious figure who just hasn't played very much. He's played 19 games and less than 400 total minutes in the last 2 seasons combined. 19 games in the last 2 seasons combined. This year he played 4 games and 49 minutes, basically played one entire game. But 19 games in 2 years. Like he just hasn't played much. Last year he had knee and ankle injuries that kept him out. He's been out with what they're calling right knee tendinopathy. Tendinopathy is not really like a thing. It's like an umbrella term that just means swelling or inflamed ligaments in your knee, tendons in your knee, and that's from, shout out to the Mayo Clinic's website where I read that. I am not a doctor. But like, so this just sounds like it's just like a long-term knee tendon issue that is causing him enough pain and discomfort that he can't play basketball for extended periods. Like notably, he has not had knee surgery on this year. He's just basically missed several months with this tendinopathy with like swelling and inflammation in his knees or in his knee. Right, it is the right knee. when Tease plays, he rocks, but he just hasn't played very much. Also, like, when he's played in the very small sample size, 19 games across 2 years, he's also shot it very well in those games. I don't know how real that is. I would guess that the other 5 years of his career are probably a better indicator than those 19 games. But if the shooting sticks around sort of around where it's been, above league average, it's been much better than that, but say it's above league average and he continues to provide the defensive playmaking, special addition to your bench unit, like a really interesting player to the bench unit. Kris Murray has been out since January 5th with a lower back strain. He missed a couple games with he has some lower back pain, and then the injury came. It's he's going to be out for a while, out indefinitely, basically. And so now both of those guys are back, and it sounds like they're going to play. Typically, long-term injury updated to questionable on the injury report is a clear sign they're going to play. They participated, according to Tiago Splitter, told reporters at practice. Full disclosure, I was not there, but I did watch the interview on YouTube. Anyone can do kind of this level of crappy journalism if you really believe in yourself and know where to look. But I appreciate the people doing the actual work on the ground. What Splitter told reporters was that both of them went through full participants in practice on Wednesday and Thursday. If you go through a full practice, and these are probably as real of practices as they've had in terms of contact and running around in months and months and months, you're going to play, right? Like, I don't know how much they'll play, right? I don't know even how many minutes are truly available for them, like if they'll even bump up against a imposed minutes restriction. But yeah, say they play 15 or 18 minutes, at the most, those are valuable 15 or 18 minutes coming off the bench. That's the good news, particularly Tease coming back. Murray has been part of some good lineups. He kind of provides a baseline of defense and size that they need. He hasn't figured out much of how he's going to be a contributor on offense, and perhaps he never will. But just more big bodies, more guys who can defend. You can play a certain way with more of options. Always a positive to have more players healthy and available. The Sharpe stuff. So left calf strain. He missed the last 4.5 games after the break. He's they're playing against the Grizzlies, and he doesn't come out at half. He finished the first half, doesn't come out at halftime. They say, oh, he's got a sore calf. Never good though when you get ruled out right away, right? Like, it's never good. They said it wasn't like an acute singular thing, just like, oh, hey, his calf doesn't feel good. And then after missing the second half of that game, missed the final 4 games heading into the All-Star break, and now unavailable to practice, did not participate in practice coming out of the break. And Splitter said, and I quote here, again, this is transcribed from YouTube. Am I a little embarrassed by this level of aggregation? I am, but I'm still bringing it to you anyways. Splitter said, he didn't practice. We're still evaluating how long he's going to be out, but for the near future, he's going to be out for a little bit. That sounds like a minimum a week, right? Like, that's reading between the lines a little bit, but for the near future, he's going to be out a little bit. Just means he's not practicing. We don't anticipate him playing. And if that's after having that, more than a week off with 4 games in the All-Star break, like, that's not good. Sharpe, he's been dealing with injuries to both calves all year long. He had this left calf strain, popped up in the injury report on October 31st, and then he spent a few games, maybe like 2 weeks, on the sort of unspecified minutes limit. Like, he was playing about 25 minutes a night. It's pretty clear that his minutes limit was like, you can play half the game. But they were never explicit with it, and Splitter kind of eventually alluded to it once in passing, or after 3, 4, 5 games into the Shaedon Sharpe's just not playing very much. Then he got cleared, ramped up, started playing a little bit more, and then at the end of November, a month later, he had a right calf strain and missed 4 games. So it's just been lingering with his legs, right? He's just has not been able to get right. It stinks because not only is Sharpe just useful, right? Like a good basketball player, the Blazers are just not going to have many games, if at all, where they're whole, where it's okay, pretty much everybody who's part of the future, like anyone reasonable who can be part of the plan next year, is available and out on the court, and you can, figure it out over the course of 20 games. They're just like, I don't think they're going to have, they only have 26 games left. I'm willing to wager that Shaedon Sharpe doesn't play in the final, 20, that he misses enough that you don't get 20 straight games, and other guys maybe have bumps and bruises along the way. I'm not saying he's out for the year. That's not what I was trying to imply there. What I'm saying is just like the fact that he's going to come right back at the 20 game mark and you're going to have everybody for the end of the year just seems unlikely. Like you're just never going to get it. And Sharpe, I think even for his like obvious sort of warts this year as a player, still coming into his own, like useful scorer, the best basketball he's ever played. This is the best season of his career. I don't even think that's controversial. So like, yeah, just a bummer. They'll move on without him, and they will have some other reinforcements, but to not get a chance to get a real good look at like Sharpe plus the dudes and Scoot plus the dudes at any point this season really stinks. This also has implications for Sidy Cissoko and Caleb Love. Also, I want to talk about like the basketball stuff with Kris and Matisse back, and something that Splitter hinted at, that there was a big part of the Blazers' identity early in the season. We'll do all of that in the second segment. Join me there, won't you? First, though, let's talk FanDuel. You ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their new NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flight, tickets, the whole experience. So if you're familiar with NBA, with future bets or NBA futures, you just are betting on something that's happened in the future. So if you think you've got it dialed who's going to say win the NBA title, or you've got a hunch on who's going to make the finals or maybe win a playoff series, all of those are going to be on the board. And if you make your prediction now, not only can you get a little bit of money for your troubles, but you can also be entered to win, because you could go to the finals with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Quo. It's a new year, which means it's time to implement some new systems, and it's the time that you may be looking at the messier parts of how you run your business and say, there's got to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's show is brought to you by Quo. That's QUO, the smarter way to run your business communications, because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Quo makes things simple. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone. It works right from your colleague's phone. It works right from your computer and your colleague's computer, and you can all keep your existing number as is. It's no surprise. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. All right. Thanks for making the show your first listen. If you're living the lifestyle, if you truly are an everydayer, go join the Everydayer Club. Make it official, particularly for an audio listener, because you get an ad-free version of this podcast right there in your audio feed. Plus, you get access to the members-only Discord where you can chop it up with me and your fellow Blazer fans talking hoops. It's $5 a month or $50 a year, and the link is in the show notes, lockedonblazers.supercast.com, where you can learn more. Okay, no Sharpe, but with Matisse Thybulle and Kris Murray coming back, that probably means that both of the Blazers' helpful two-way guys are going to be on ice for a little bit. That'd be my guess. They'll probably be on ice for a little bit. What do I mean by that? That's a turn of phrase that might mean nothing to you. Let me be a little more specific. That's kind of how the podcast works. City Sissoko and Caleb Love are approaching their game's limit. In fact, Sissoko cannot even be on the active list, can't wear a jersey again until he is converted to a standard contract. All two-way contracts have a provision to be converted to a standard contract. You can use some other mechanisms to convert them into longer contracts if you so choose, yada, yada, yada. But like you can convert them into minimum deals for the remainder of the season, but you have to have a roster spot to do it. And the Blazers just straight up do not have a roster spot. They don't have that. So City can't even dress. Caleb Love has 5 games left. They were already sitting Caleb on some nights before the break because if he had just played out the string, he was going to hit it the second game of after the All-Star break, and now they've pushed it back a little bit. So he's at the 45 games. But I would assume that both of them are going to be on the inactive list until the Blazers really need it, right? Either they realize that they just like need what City brings, but I think with the combination of Matisse and Kris Murray, you have your sort of like energy defenders to bring off the bench. I think both of them fill that role pretty cleanly ahead of City. Let me get this out front for those of you screaming into your car stereos or headphones while you're walking your dog or doing the dishes or something. I think City Sissoko's been better than Kris Murray this year, but like it is what it is. Murray was a first round draft pick. He's being paid a lot more money right now. He's promised over $5 million next season. The team just has more invested in him than they do in City. That's just how it works. He's going to get priority over him because of that level of investment, at least in the near term. So I don't think City's going to play. They will have to eventually waive someone, like if they want to keep them. I would assume like if Matisse can play, then he's no longer a candidate for it. There was a chance that if Matisse was just done for the year, he would get waived. But like, I think the most likely candidate is probably Rayan Rupert, entering free agency this summer. So like we'll see. It could be I guess technically Blake Wesley is a candidate who's also entering free agency this summer, but I would say slightly less likely. But if I had to guess right now, I assume that the Blazers would just simply wait on that until it's a necessity, either because of health or if they get to the very, very, very end of the season, like final game of the year, and they haven't waived anyone, maybe they will waive Roops and convert City to a regular NBA contract, just so he can be available should they, get out of the play-in and advance beyond that, because you cannot participate in the postseason if you do not have an NBA deal. Two-way guys are not eligible. But if Matisse Thybulle and Kris Murray are on the active roster on Friday evening, the Blazers are not only going to not have room for Sissoko and Love to play, like they're going to have to put a guy with an NBA contract on the inactive list. Like they finally have enough bodies such that they'll have to make real decisions about who under real contract is going to be on the active list, and not like start a two-way guy and bring the other two-way guy off the bench, play him 28 minutes a night and hope he hits 4 threes. Like it's just they're just healthier than they've been. But if assuming that nothing changes on the injury report right now, like not only will none of the two-way guys be active, I guess presumably Rayan Rupert will also be on the inactive list. It could be Hansen, but I really doubt it because just they need the size and the insurance there. That would be a pretty big shocker to me. Okay, there's like some basketball stuff here that I want to touch on quickly. Splitter mentioned that part of like getting these guys back is that they could just play a little bit different. He's talking about like such a big part of what they were talking about since they got back is just like getting the defense being better. Like they should be better on defense. And I agree. It'd be nice if the offense was a little bit better. It'd be nice if they didn't turn the ball over so much, but like, I don't know if you look at their personnel and think like, now they're going to figure it out. Scoot Henderson's back. Now they're going to stop turning the ball over, right? It's like, it might be like they were 29th in turnovers last year. They're 30th this year. It might be a thing, but they were like good on defense with very similar personnel last year. You'd think that they could get back there. And part of the thing that Splitter alluded to was playing a little more small ball. And when Matisse Thybulle was healthy, the small ball, okay, and Matisse, let's be clear, he played 49 minutes across 4 games to begin the season. We're talking about 1 week to begin the season. One of those games coached by Chauncey Billups, right? And it was a different time, right? A different time. But like, those groups with Thybulle in there were pretty fun. Like eyeball wise, incredibly fun, right? Like you watch them, they're flying around, playing small. The numbers, they're so small. 65 total possessions and about 33 total minutes where Thybulle played on the court without a center. They're awesome though. Plus 24.6 net rating in the meaningless tiny sample size and a 95.4 defensive rating, holding teams to under a point per possession. That is 95.4 points per 100 possessions. The vast majority of Thybulle's minutes, about 33 of them, of his 49, came with these small ball looks. Particularly for me, the Drew, Tease, Denny, Tumani, Jeremy Grant. That's Drew Holiday, Matisse Thybulle, Denny Avdia, Tumani Kamara, Jeremy Grant. That 5-man grouping, that was really, really intriguing early in the season. The numbers, again, on that group played 11 minutes together. Very strong, but I'm talking more about like what it looked like to my eyes. Very interesting. I don't think we're going to see it Friday when Nikola Jokic comes to town. I would be, you just really can't play small against him. Maybe one point in his career, but not since he became the best player in the world. He will bully you. He'll bully big people. He's too good. So I don't think we'll see it deployed. I don't think we'll see it Friday, but the following, and then like they play the Wolves on Tuesday. So like maybe it's Phoenix. Maybe we'll see it against the Suns. We shall see. And then when they head out on the road, I think there's a bunch of teams that they could deploy small ball against and get away with it. I think that's at least an intriguing basketball thing to look into, because that was seemingly going to be a big part of their identity. I think it was one of the reasons that they were comfortable with saying like, hey, we're not going to get another center. We're going to roll with, Young Hansen as our nominal backup center, and we'll just wait for Rob Williams to get healthy because like we think we're going to play small a ton. And Chauncey Billups said that a bunch in preseasons. They wanted to play small. And then once Matisse got hurt, the small ball units sucked on defense. They were horrendous. And that's a big enough sample size that I think you can say definitively why they stopped doing it, right? Like both your eyeballs could say like, man, they can't stop anyone, they can't rebound, and the numbers suggest they couldn't stop anybody. The offense was kind of fine, but they tried to continue to play those small ball looks when after Tease had gone down and Blake Wesley had gone down, and it's like both those guys got hurt and they just like couldn't play that sort of chaotic identity. And so they dropped it, and they just like haven't done it since. But I guess according to what Splitter told reporters, sounds like it's something they want to get back to because it was kind of part of the plan early, and now they have the specific personnel that makes that sort of. Because if you're going to play small, you got to fly around and be chaotic. You can't be like you got to force turnovers and run. Like you can't get away with it otherwise. Okay, Joe Cronin talked to the Willamette Week, his first on the record interview since September. This is notable mostly for its existence, but I want to talk about at least one interesting takeaway, and also just in general make some comments about Joe Cronin's use of the media, because I'm always whining about it, so why stop now? Just kidding, it'll be insightful. Join me for the insights in the third segment, won't ya? First, though, I want to welcome you to the 5-hour energy flavor draft, where I'm going to look at every aspect of the draft and let you know which tasty flavor is the best and which other flavors just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. Look, 5-hour energy has a variety of flavors, something for everybody. It's your zero sugar energy boost. For me, I'm classic. So if I got the number one pick, give me berry. It is still the classic you remember, smooth and sweet without being overly sugary. It is the classic 5-hour energy shot, and for me, it's going to be the number one pick. But listen, there's still some sleepers out there, and some newcomers like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. They could be making a late charge. So find your new flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon, and draft your number one pick today. All right, still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Joe Cronin spoke at Media Day back in September. Hasn't spoken since. Usually he talks one time during the regular season. He talks right after the trade deadline. For whatever reason, he chose not to speak to the media. Also, the coach got arrested by the FBI, and they put a new coach in charge, and Joe Cronin chose not to speak to the media. So this isn't like wah, wah. He doesn't. It's like he's had some opportunities where it really would have been a great time for him to sort of step in front of the microphone and this is sort of the guy. I am the guiding force, or at least the person executing the vision during tumultuous times, and this is what leadership looks like. He hasn't done that. But then he gave an interview to Willamette Week. And this is, I want to be abundantly clear up front. Absolutely no shade to Willamette Week whatsoever in these comments. Good on them. This is good. This is good work. The work of a journalist is to say, hey, can we get 15 minutes or 20 minutes with Joe Cronin? And they say yes, and then you write a story about it. Like, you don't need to apologize because Joe Cronin hasn't done a public press conference. Make a media request and see if they fulfill it. Garner relationships so you get these opportunities. Good work. Robert Oman and Aaron Mesh, who got double byline on the story. Full credit to them for getting Cronin on the record. The story is essentially framed. It ends with like a Q&A, like the written out question and answer session. But like the story is framed that has like a topper, Q&A with a topper. You've read newspapers before. You've seen this thing. If you haven't, because you're like 22 and you have no idea what a newspaper is, I don't know, ask your uncle or something. Come on, get it together. Read a newspaper. You're a college graduate, or at least working on it. I swear newspapers used to be vitally important to this country. In any case, there's a topper with paragraphs and a lead in and then the Q&A. And like for the most part, it's sort of framed as the Joe Cronin pitching his job, right? Because with an incoming owner and sort of the uncertainty that started his tenure, because he kind of had to tear down things and ship out franchise icon Damian Lillard by choice, to be clear. And then now he's built it back, and Damian Lillard's back, and it's like, and then there's a new owner coming in here in the next 6 weeks or something like that. End of March is when it was projected. So Cronin is, the way it is framed in the Willamette Week story is Cronin kind of, what would be your pitch for to keep your job? And I'm not going to read it verbatim here. In fact, I'll link it in the show notes. Go read the Willamette Week, support local journalism, grab it out of one of the newspaper stands when you're walking around the city, or go get it at your local coffee shop that has the alt weeklies laying out there. And make sure you're supporting folks, become a friend of Willamette Week, support folks that can get the GM on the record, because he ain't talking otherwise. But I think for the most part, it's kind of what you'd expect. It's like, I don't know, Cronin comes off as likable, I guess, in the Q&A, but there isn't any hard hitting news or anything like really surprising in there. There's a long description of the apartment that Paul Allen has in the Moda Center. Nay Rose Garden. In fact, there's a certain part of the arena you can sit in and you can look up and kind of see the window if you know where to look. But you can go read it in the Willamette Week. But I thought the most telling question and answer for me was, the question was something akin to, are the next 5 years going to make the last 5 years worth it? And Cronin says, I hope so, but we kind of don't know. We kind of still have to see what these guys are going to be. And then he offers the following quote, and I'm going to read this part verbatim. This is from Joe Cronin answering the question, are the next 5 years going to make the last 5 years worth it? While we're really optimistic about the futures of each of our guys, some of this is up to them. Okay, when are you going to take the next step? And we're seeing some of them do that. We saw Denny take a huge step, which definitely speeds up our progress. We've seen Tumani be a very, very capable starter who's only 25. So some of this is happening in real time. We're still learning what these guys are and where we're headed. Me and Joe Cronin are on the same page, because if I were to say what are his signature moves that you would point to if you were to sell your job, you would say, I traded for Denny Avdia. This stupid podcaster did not like the trade at the time because he didn't like me giving up 2 first-round picks, and he's an all-star. He's a star on a very cheap contract. That's going to make retaining him, I don't know, a little bit more complicated, but not actually that hard, because you just give him all, you still have pretty much all the mechanisms you need possible to give him all the money. You just have to maybe probably wait till he gets to free agency to do so, but you can still back up the Brinks truck for him if you want to keep him. And he's a foundational piece of this team, right? He's the best player they've had in the post-Dame era. He's arguably the best player that Dame Lillard's ever played with. Prime Marcus is pretty good. I think Denny's probably better. I think he's probably going to put together a better season this year than LaMarcus has ever had. It's a pretty good trade. And Tumani is a dude who would be on the floor in Game 7 of the NBA Finals because of the shooting and the defense, right? Like you'd be in trouble if you needed him to score maybe in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but like he would play, right? He would play deep. He'd be part of a playoff rotation for every team in the league. Denny the same way, right? And I don't know that you could. Drew probably right now, but he's 36. I don't think you could confidently say that about every single player on the roster. Probably Jeremy Grant, right? And probably Shaedon Sharpe, but would Shaedon Sharpe be on the court at crunch time for every team in the league? A guy who doesn't defend particularly well and doesn't make threes off the ball, right? That's a little bit dicey. And I say that not to hate on Shaedon Sharpe, although I'm probably more of a Shaedon Sharpe doubter than some of you who are going to be so mad that I've brought him up in a negative light twice during the show. But what I'll say is this, is what Cronin isn't saying there is, I tanked 3 times, lost on purpose, made 3 lottery picks in the top 7 due to some very blatant tanking. And if I were to sell my job to the new guy coming in, I would not lead with the draft picks I made. To me, that's telling, right? That's telling, is that those guys haven't popped. And I think that's sort of, in some ways, the limitation of this team is those, if Shaedon Sharpe gets really, really good, if Scoot Henderson gets really, really good. And I think this is the best year of Shaedon Sharpe's career. I think, Scoot hasn't played very much, but I think he's been good in the 4 games he's played. And I think Donovan Clingan looks awesome this year. But would he play at the end of games because of the lack of offense and the switchability necessary maybe in playoff basketball where they're chasing Rudy Gobert, who's an all-time great defender off the court sometimes by spreading him out in the NBA playoffs. I thought that answer was kind of one of those slyly honest ones, right? Where it's is it going to be worth it? Well, yeah. And I think he's Cronin is totally I feel like me and him are very much on the same page in this assessment. It's he said, okay, the futures of each of us we're really optimistic about the futures of each of our guys. Some of this is up to them. I agree. Players are going to have to improve on the sort of can they, there is a thing with young players. It's he's so talented, but it's if the talent never comes to the surface, it doesn't matter what your sort of perception was. At some point, it's your production on the court, and I'm with it. There is some really tantalizing stuff with the Blazers' young players. Can they put it together and be high-level contributors? That's still largely an unknown. The players that you are confident about are hooping on any squad is the sort of Denny's and Tumanis of the world. And when Cronin says we're still learning what these guys are and where we're headed, 100% agree. I'm not out on any of the Blazers' young players, but I do not possess a great deal of certainty about them, and by any means. And I found that to be the most intriguing part of that interview. There's some other sort of maybe personal stuff that you might like reading about Joe Cronin, but in terms of basketball-y stuff, I found that to be pretty intriguing. I guess Joe Cronin will talk at exit interviews. Until then, much respect to the Willamette Week for getting the first on-the-record interview by the Blazers GM since September, following an arrest of the coach that he gave a contract extension to, not but 10 months ago. Really something. But check the rest of the Lent Week story. It's in the show notes for this episode. Support local journalism. That's going to do it for today's program. I appreciate you listening. What else do I do here at the end? Oh, yeah. Go join the Everydayer Club and tell your friends about the podcast. They can get it wherever they get podcasts. And also on YouTube, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, all that good stuff. Come back for tomorrow's show. Oh yeah, hey, you're an everyday listener. You made it to the very end of the program. I promised you that I was going to have an interview in this particular show, but I hadn't confirmed it. It fell through. It'll happen in the future. Oh well, that's the challenge of this stuff. Next week, I've already got a one fun interview lined up, so we'll be back at it with more shows, 5 of them, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I will talk to you soon.